Hi friends, welcome back to your practice. I am Katie Arnold and today's practice is a 20-minute practice to help soothe achy muscles. Now, if you have gotten in a workout or been sitting at your desk all day or really doesn't matter, your body is feeling a little bit sore, this practice is going to be for you. We are going to focus on the lower body. We're going to focus on the upper body. So this is really going to be a full body, really nice stretch. So props wise, I am suggesting at least one blanket to have. You may or may not use it, but it's a really nice to have. You might even want a second blanket. Obviously, these don't need to be special blankets in any capacity. Even chunky towels are a great alternative. So we're going to get started in a tabletop position. We are going to have quite a bit of knee down stuff, especially to start our practice. So I'm going to take one of my blankets, keeping it folded up a few times, and lie it down on the mat about halfway down. So that way my knees just have a little bit of support. And then we can leave this blanket here through the entire practice. So meeting me in a tabletop position, we're just going to start with a few cat and cows. So you can drop your belly, lift your gaze, exhale, round your spine, chin to chest. And I really want to invite you to let this cat and cow work for you. So while a super traditional cat and cow can be great, and this might be exactly what your body needs, you might find that it feels nice to add some sways side to side, or maybe gazing over one shoulder or the other. You might want to linger in your cat or cow pose for a moment. So just let yourself really explore where the body is at. You might do a cow pose back to a child's pose variation and kind of take some movements like that. And so I really want this practice to help soothe your achy muscles. And so that might be a little bit different for each of us. So just let yourself explore here. What feels good? A few more rounds here. And through most of this practice today, I'm not really going to guide your breath. There might be a few breath cues that you'll hear me throw in just to help us find a little bit more release. So you can let that breath just flow really naturally. Take one more round. And then meet me in your tabletop position. And we're going to step the right toes to the back of your mat. And then start to shift the hips back until you get a nice stretch in that right calf. And then you can even maybe take kind of bob back and forth a little bit here if that feels nice, or you can just pause and hold and send the weight back so the heel pushes back. And then start to shift the weight back forward. We're going to take that left foot, kickstand it a little bit over towards the right side of your mat, and then take that right knee, slide it behind the left. And we're going to come into cow face legs, Gomukhasana. So if you have that other blanket, this is where, as you sit back, you could have the hips a little bit more elevated. So working to stack those knees, sending the feet out. This might be enough. In fact, for most of us, this probably will be enough. But if you want to also add in a little bit of upper body here, we're going to take the arms out nice and wide and then cross the left arm underneath the right and grab onto opposite shoulders. And so you get a stretch through the upper back and shoulders here a little bit. And if this is still not feeling like enough sensation, you could always start to work towards eagle arms. So we have eagle arms with our Gomukhasana legs. And then again, you could stay here, or if this is not enough sensation for the legs, if you find you have more, you might start to hinge it forward. And then you can just kind of hang out here. But use that breath. So while I may not be giving big breath cues here, we can use that breath to find more space. We can use that breath to help release some of the tension. So that might look like big breaths in through the nose, audible sighs, as much as you need to. It might also just look like focusing on the breath to help keep the mind from wandering off or getting caught in the stretch and any of the discomfort. So this might be a little uncomfortable, but I don't want this to be painful. So if this is like causing any kind of pain beyond just, the deepening of this stretch, then I want you to back out. I want you to take variations. I want you to scale back. Together. Audibly sigh it out. Lift yourself back up. If you took that hinge, unwind the arms. Plant your hands down in front of you. Move that extra blanket out of the way and unwind the legs. So we come back to that tabletop position. And it might feel nice to take a round of cat and cow in between just to fully reset the body. And then we'll come back through that neutral tabletop and then step the left toes to the back of your mat. Start to shift the hips back and we find that calf stretch first. Maybe you kind of bob it back and forth. Shift the hips forward a bit. Kickstand that right foot to the left and slide that left knee behind the right. Maybe you slide that blanket back behind you. So as you sit the hips back, they can land on the blanket. And find the length through the spine at first. Take a moment to just notice how the hips feel. And then you can take the arms out nice and wide. And then this time, right arm will come underneath the left. And maybe you just grab onto opposite shoulders. Think about lifting up those elbows. Maybe you work toward eagle arms. So find what works for you here. And then maybe you stay like this. Maybe you hinge it forward a bit. Maybe you notice one side is different than the other. For me, this side is definitely tighter. And so I'm not going to add that hinge here. I'm just going to stay nice and lifted. Breathing into my hips. Breathing into the upper back and shoulders. First, lift it up, unwind the arms, plant your hands down in front of you. You can move that blanket out of the way. Meet back in that tabletop position. And one more time, maybe you take one round of cat and cow just to fully reset. Come back through your tabletop and then inhale that right arm high. Exhale, thread it underneath the left. Right shoulder comes down. Left hand can stay where it is. You can walk it forward, or you might even try taking a gentle half bind, taking the back of that left hand to the outside of the right hip and then pulling that right shoulder back. Hips stay elevated. Gently unwind. Left hand's going to come back down to the mat in front of the face. Press into the palm and inhale, reach that right arm back up and open. And come back down to your tabletop position and we'll start to take this to the other side. So right hand stays down, inhale, left arm up. Exhale, thread it through. Left shoulder softens. Same options for this side. Right hand can stay right where it is if this is enough. Right arm can walk forward, or the back of that right hand can come to the outside of the left hip. If you want to try that gentle half bind on this side, pulling that right shoulder back. We're here for about a minute. So maybe use that breath to help you here. Bring that right hand back in front of the face. Press into the palm. Inhale, left arm high. Exhale back down through your tabletop position. And then if you had this blanket here, you could leave it here, or you can also move it out of the way. Especially if you only have one blanket, then you might want to set it off to the side to have available. And then come back to that tabletop position. And we're just going to slide that right knee up behind the right wrist. Let the left leg extend long and find a half pigeon pose. So being really mindful, we don't want to fall onto that right hip. We want to keep those hips lifted. And then you could stay on tall arms. You could start to come down onto forearms. This is where you could take that blanket and you could slide it underneath that right hip for a little bit of support. If you find that that right hip is really high off the ground or feels like it needs a little bit of support, you could also slide that blanket underneath your chest and fold forward. If you find that you have any kind of pain in that right knee, feel free to roll onto your back and take a figure four instead, crossing that right ankle over the left thigh. There's no need that we need to be in pain here. This may not be comfortable, but it should never be painful. And then come back up into those tall arms. Move any props out of the way. Roll onto that right hip and swing that left leg around. And you can swing it all the way around, planting that left foot on the outside of the right hip. So if this is too much, doesn't feel good in the legs, extend the right leg forward. Otherwise, that right foot can stay in towards the body, find length through the spine. And then sweep that right arm around, hug the left knee into the chest, and let your left hand go behind that left hip. So we're in our seated twist. Gently come back through center. Extend that right leg if it's not already, and bring the left foot on the inside of the right leg. So we have a seated tree pose. Hips are going to, shoulders are going to square with that right leg. Inhale, arms high. And exhale as you fold forward. Inhale, sit it back up, and then just bring that right foot in. So we're in an easy seat. Find length through the spine. And then exhale, walk the hands forward and come down onto those forearms. Lift it back up. And we're going to meet back in our tabletop position. Take all that over to the other side. So come back through that tabletop. And then slide the left knee behind the left wrist. Right leg is going to extend. You can take that blanket, you can slide it underneath the left hip. You can stay on tall arms. You can come down onto forearms. And also, you might notice one side feels a little bit different than the other. And so, if this half pigeon felt all right on the right side, but it's not feeling so good on the left side, that figure four on your back is always available. Crossing the left ankle over the right thigh. Get out of this practice what you need. There is no need to force anything. There is no need to go to a point of pain. We don't want to risk injury here. What we want to do is just really stretch things out, give our muscles the nourishment that they're needing. Start to lift it back up into tall arms. If you came down onto your forearms, move any blankets out of the way. Roll onto that left hip this time and swing that right leg all the way around, planting that right foot on the outside of the left hip. Again, this might be different from one side to the other. So maybe the left leg extends in front of you. We're then going to sweep this left arm around, hug the right knee into your chest, right hand behind the hip, and then try to keep that spine nice and long. Come back through center, extend that left leg, and bring the right foot on the inside of the left leg. Seated tree, square the shoulders with that left leg, inhale the arms high. And then fold it forward on that breath out, grabbing onto whatever may be available, maybe the calf, maybe the ankle, maybe at the bottom of the foot. Inhale, sit it back up. Cross that or bend that left knee. So we're now in our easy seat pose. Find length through the spine. And exhale, walk it forward. Inhale, lift it back up. Maybe take one of your blankets, slide it underneath your hips. Staying in that easy seat position. Inhale the arms high. Exhale, right hand beside the right hip, side body stretch. We'll move dynamically for this one. So inhale, arms high. Exhale, side body stretch to the left. Left hand plants beside the left hip. Inhale, center. Exhale, take it back to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, take it to the left. One more time, each side. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, right. Let's stay for a full round of breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to the left. Full breath. Inhale, arms high. Exhale, hands down through heart center. Just notice where the body's at. I hope you feel more space in the body. I hope your muscles feel more relaxed, nourished. Thank you so much for joining me. Om Shanti. Peace. Thank you all so much for joining me for this short practice. I hope you are feeling really good in your body right now. I know that this was just what I needed after a workout yesterday. And so maybe you are in a similar place as well. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please take a moment to do so. I would be so grateful. And if you don't have my free daily practice calendar, the link for that is in the description below. It is a full month calendar full of practices, guided meditations, and yoga practices to help meet you where you're at and take all of the guesswork out of your practice. Of course, if you want a new calendar every single month, as well as all of these practices completely ad-free, my Quiet the Noise membership is also in the description below. It is only $8 a month. It's about as cheap as humanly possible. And this day and age is like the cost of a latte. So really simple. And thank you so much for joining me. I will see you back on your mats for your next